The night on Rhea 9 was dark and broken. Storms rolled across the dead mining colony, lightning flashing through the empty steel skeletons of factories. The wind screamed between twisted towers, carrying the smell of metal, dust, and old fire. Ethan Vale, a young human engineer, moved carefully through the ruins. His lamp flickered weakly as he searched for old machine parts. His ship had crashed 3 days ago, and if he didn't find a working power cell soon, his beacon would die, leaving him alone on this forgotten planet. He stepped over cracked concrete and broken glass. His breath fogged in the cold air. He heard strange sounds, soft movements behind a pile of collapsed metal. At first he thought it was the wind. Then he heard it again, a small cry, weak and trembling. Ethan froze. "Hello?" He called out, no answer. Only another quiet sound like a whimper. He pushed aside a piece of metal and his lamplight fell upon 2 small figures huddled together. They were not human. Their skin shimmered faintly in the dark, smooth and pale blue with tiny glowing lines across their arms. Their eyes, wide and frightened, reflected the light like mirrors. They were alien children, maybe 10 or 11 years old, wearing torn silver suits. They looked starved, their faces covered with dust and fear. One of them hissed softly when she saw him, pulling her sister closer. The other whispered something in a language he didn't know. Ethan slowly knelt down, keeping his hands open. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The smaller one stared at the small pack on his belt. Her eyes locked on the ration bar. Ethan looked at the food, then back at the 2 of them. He sighed. "All right," he said quietly. "You look hungry." He broke the bar in half and placed the pieces on the ground between them. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the older sister pushed the younger one gently forward. The little one crawled closer, sniffed the food, then snatched it and took a bite. Her eyes widened. She hadn't eaten in days. She looked at him again, this time with less fear. Ethan smiled. "See, no poison. Just food." The older girl finally spoke, her voice rough and broken. "Oh, man?" He nodded. "Yes, human. And you?" She said a word softly. "Draxia." Ethan had heard that name before. The Draxians, a reptilian humanoid race whose world was destroyed during the Great War. Most people thought they were extinct. "What happened to you?" he asked, though he knew they probably didn't understand. She just looked down and said one word, tears forming in her eyes. "Gone." Ethan understood enough. Their family, their home, gone. He looked at the storm outside. His ship's shelter wasn't far. He couldn't leave them here. He extended his hand. "Come with me." The older one hesitated, her claws curling tight around her sister's hand. But when the thunder cracked above them, she made a choice. She took his hand. Ethan led them through the rain to his small crashed ship. The door hissed open and warm air washed over them. He wrapped the 2 in a blanket and gave them water. The younger one, tired and weak, fell asleep against his arm. The older sat silently, watching him with cautious eyes. Ethan looked at her. "You'll be safe here. I'll help you." She didn't understand all the words, but she seemed to feel his meaning. After a while, she whispered something. Her voice was shaky, almost broken. "Promise?" Ethan smiled softly. "Promise." That night, while the storm raged outside, Ethan stayed awake, checking the ship's sensors. He didn't know that human patrols had detected his crash site. If they found the alien children, they would take them away, or worse. But Ethan didn't care about laws or orders anymore. He only cared about the 2 trembling souls sleeping beside him. As dawn came, lightning faded into silence. The little one stirred and smiled weakly in her sleep. Ethan watched her and whispered to himself, "You're safe now." Then his scanner beeped. A red signal blinked. Human patrol approaching. Ethan stood slowly, looking at the 2 alien girls. He clenched his jaw. If they found the sisters, he would lose them. He took a deep breath and whispered, "I made a promise. And I'll keep it." 15 years passed since that stormy night on Rhea 9. The colony had changed. The ruins were rebuilt into shining towers and trade ports. Ships came and went every hour. But for Ethan Vale, life had become quiet, simple. He worked as a repair mechanic at the Nova Gate spaceport, fixing the ships that others used to chase glory. His hair had a few silver lines now, but his eyes still carried the same calm fire. Every night, when the station lights dimmed, he would look up at the stars and wonder where the 2 alien sisters had gone. Sometimes he dreamed of them, their soft eyes, their small hands clutching his coat, the word they said before leaving. Promise. He had kept that promise, though he didn't know how. That day began like any other. Ethan was under a transport ship, tightening a plasma conduit when the ground suddenly trembled. The tools rolled off the table. Alarms blared across the station. What now? He muttered, crawling out from under the ship. The sky outside the dome turned red as two massive warships pierced through the clouds. Their hulls were dark silver with living lights flowing across the surface like veins. The ships were shaped like wings, beautiful, terrifying wings, unknown signatures, shouted the controller from the tower. Energy readings off the scale. Fighters scrambled. Civilians ran for cover. Ethan just stood there staring upward as the warship slowed, hovering above the landing zone. Then, without warning, both ships opened their lower hatches. Two figures descended through the glowing light. They were tall, armored, and impossible to mistake. Their presence filled the air with silent pressure, like thunder before a storm. Their armor was made of living crystal, glowing with deep blue light. When the dust settled, Ethan finally saw their faces. His breath caught in his chest. It was them. The two Draxian sisters, no longer weak, frightened children, but full-grown warriors. The older one, now standing more than 7 feet tall, had long strands of silver hair that shimmered like liquid light. Her glowing eyes locked onto Ethan's. The younger one, just behind her, smiled softly, the same shy curve he remembered from long ago. Everyone around froze, weapons aimed, unsure what to do. The older sister stepped forward, her voice calm but strong. "Human Veil," she said in clear English, her tone echoing across the courtyard. "You fed us when we were forgotten. You gave us life. We have returned to honor our bond." Ethan couldn't move. "Kayla?" he whispered. She nodded. "And Rin," she said, motioning toward her sister. The crowd murmured. Soldiers lifted their rifles. Kyla raised a single hand, and every weapon in the area glowed red-hot, melting in seconds. The soldiers fell back in fear. "We come not for war," Kayla said firmly. "We come for him." Her eyes stayed on Ethan. The commander of the spaceport pushed through the crowd. "This man is under human command. You can't just take him." Kayla's gaze hardened. "He is bound to our hearts. His kindness is our oath. On Draxia, an oath lasts beyond life itself." Rin stepped forward now, smiling sadly. "We searched 15 years through 10 systems for the one human who shared his food in the dark." Ethan's chest felt heavy. He didn't understand. Why now? Why him? He took a step forward, his voice low. "You're warriors now," Kayla nodded. "We became what we had to. Because of what you taught us." Ethan blinked. "What did I teach you?" Rin answered softly, "That mercy is not weakness." The moment hung in silence. Even the guards lowered their weapons. Then a sharp tone broke the air, an alert from command. Ethan's wrist device buzzed with a red warning. "Subject Ethan Vale. Detain immediately for foreign contact. Possible security threat." He looked up, startled. Soldiers surrounded him again, nervous and afraid. Kayla's eyes flared with blue fire. "They call kindness a threat?" The commander barked. "Stand down, alien." Kayla turned toward him slowly, her voice cold and deep. "Touch him, and you will know what a Draxian storm truly is." Rin stepped between them, pleading. "Kayla, please!" "Not here." The ground trembled as Kayla's armor pulsed with light, but she stopped. Her eyes softened as she looked at Ethan again. "We will not harm your people," she said quietly. "But they cannot keep you from your promise." The soldiers hesitated. No one dared move. Kayla extended her hand toward Ethan. "Come with us. Let us repay what you gave." Ethan's mind raced. Every part of him wanted to believe them, but the world had changed. Humans and Draxians had not seen peace for decades. He looked around. The soldiers, the crowd, the fear. Then he looked at her hand. "I can't," he said softly. "If I go with you now, they'll think I betrayed them." Kayla's eyes dimmed, sadness flickering behind the warrior mask. "Then we will wait," she whispered. "But remember, our bond is not broken." The two sisters turned. Their wings of light spread wide, and in a flash, they rose back to their ships. The crowd gasped as the Draxian warships vanished into the clouds. Ethan stood there, alone, heart pounding. He didn't know that a silent tracking beacon had already been placed under his skin by the soldiers, marking him as a subject of interest. The next morning, the spaceport was quiet, but tension filled the air like smoke. Everywhere Ethan went, eyes followed him. Whispers chased behind his back. He worked in the repair bay as usual, but soldiers stood near the doors now, armed, watching. His ID card no longer opened restricted areas. His messages to friends were delayed or under review. He didn't need a report to know the truth. He was being watched. 15 years ago, he had hidden 2 starving alien children. Now those same girls had returned as warriors, and that kindness had become a crime. That evening, when he returned to his quarters, 2 men in dark uniforms were waiting. "Ethan Vale," one said, showing an insignia of the Earth Defense Bureau. "You're requested for questioning." Ethan sighed. "I expected that." They led him into a black transport ship. No words were spoken during the flight. Through the small window he could see the sun setting behind the domes, its light fading like his peace. When the ship landed, Ethan was brought into a metallic room with no windows. A single chair, a single light. A woman entered, sharp-eyed and cold. "Commander Voss," she said, introducing herself. "You were seen interacting with 2 Draxian leaders yesterday. Explain." Ethan leaned back. "They're not leaders, they're old friends." "Old friends?" Her voice was full of disbelief. "The Draxian race declared silence toward humanity for 20 years. Suddenly, 2 of their high commanders descend on our colony, threaten our troops, and ask for you, a mechanic. That's not friendship, that's infiltration." Ethan shook his head. "You don't understand. I met them when they were children. They were starving, dying. I helped them. That's all." Commander Voss crossed her arms. "They called you their bondmate." "What does that mean?" Ethan hesitated. "I don't know. Maybe it's a cultural thing." She stepped closer. "You're either lying or you're more important than you admit. Which is it?" Before Ethan could answer, the lights flickered. A low hum filled the walls. Then the floor vibrated. Alarms blared. "Perimeter breach!" shouted a voice from outside. The commander's hand went to her weapon. "Stay here," she ordered, running out of the room. Ethan stood slowly. The sound grew louder, like engines roaring overhead. Then the ceiling panels shook. Dust fell. A bright blue crack split open above him, and through it dropped 2 glowing shapes. Kayla and Rin landed in the room, surrounded by sparks. Their crystal armor pulsed like living fire. Ethan's jaw dropped. "What? How did you find me?" Rin smiled softly. "You were marked. Human signal easy to follow." Kayla's eyes burned with anger. "They put you in chains for kindness." She turned toward the locked door, lifting her hand. Energy surged, and the metal door melted like wax. Soldiers appeared in the hallway, shouting orders. Blasters fired. Kayla stepped forward. Every shot that touched her armor dissolved into blue mist. She moved like lightning, her blade flashing in the dark. Ethan shouted, "Stop! Don't kill them." Kayla froze mid-swing, her blade inches from a soldier's throat. For a second, silence filled the corridor. Then she pulled back, slamming her weapon into the wall instead. "Fine," she said through clenched teeth. "No death. Only warning." She raised her hand and a pulse of light swept through the hallway, knocking every soldier unconscious. Rin turned to Ethan, her expression softer. "We did not want this, but we could not leave you behind." Ethan rubbed his face, torn between fear and gratitude. "You just made everything worse," he said quietly. "Now they'll call you enemies again." Kayla looked at him with fierce eyes. "Let them. We owe no one our silence. You fed us when the galaxy turned away. That bond cannot be erased." He shook his head. "This isn't right, Kayla. I can't just walk away from my people." She stepped closer. "Your people chained you for mercy." Her voice softened now, almost breaking. "We were dying, Ethan. You saved us. Everything we have, our strength, our rank, our hope, it came from that night. You taught us to fight for what is right, not just for what is ours." He met her gaze. The same eyes that had once been filled with fear now burned with devotion. "You're asking me to betray my world," he said. Rin stepped forward, her voice a whisper. "No, we're asking you to remember who you are." The ship's siren screamed again. Reinforcements were coming. Kayla grabbed his hand. "You must decide now." Ethan looked around, the broken lights, the soldiers on the ground, the chaos. He took a deep breath. "I'll go with you," he said, "but not to run away. To make this right." Kayla nodded once, and energy wings unfolded behind her. Rin smiled softly, relief shining in her eyes. "Then our promise lives." They lifted off through the hole in the ceiling, disappearing into the stormy sky. Below them, Commander Voss stood among the ruins of the hallway staring upward, whispering to her communicator. Project Starbond has begun. Track them. The Draxian warship Aurelia glided through the black ocean of space, its hull glowing with soft silver light. Inside, Ethan sat quietly in the medical bay while Rin patched a small cut on his arm. The room felt calm, almost peaceful, but he could feel the storm gathering outside these walls. It had been 2 days since Kayla and Rin rescued him from the human base. 2 days since he had become once again a man between two worlds. Kayla entered the room, her armor faintly cracked from the battle. Her voice was firm, but her eyes softened when she saw him. "You shouldn't be walking," Ethan said. "You were hit by a plasma round." She smiled faintly. "You sound like the medic now," Ethan sighed. "I used to fix machines. Now I'm trying to fix peace," Kayla paused. "Peace cannot be fixed. It must be rebuilt, with trust." Before he could reply, the alarm lights turned red. Rin ran to the control panel. "Human fleet incoming! 12 ships closing fast!" Ethan's stomach dropped. "They tracked us." Kayla's expression darkened. "They dare follow us here." She turned to Rin. "Raise the shields. Prepare the pulse cannons. Do not fire unless I order it." The stars outside flashed as the human warships surrounded them, forming a metallic cage. A message crackled through the speakers. "This is Commander Voss of the Earth Defense Fleet. Ethan Vale, surrender yourself. The aliens are classified as hostile entities. Do not resist." Ethan's voice shook slightly. "Kayla, please, don't fight them." Kayla looked at him silent. Then she pressed a button on the console. A beam of blue light projected her face into space, a communication hologram visible to every human ship. "This is Kayla of House Draxia," she said clearly. "We do not seek war, but if you fire on us, you will not survive your own hatred." The humans did not answer. Moments later, the first missile launched. Kayla's wings of energy flared open. "Rin, evasive pattern theta." The Aurelia spun sharply as missiles streaked past, exploding like stars. The ship trembled under the shockwaves. Ethan held onto the rail, watching the chaos through the glass. "Kayla," he shouted. "If you kill them, everything we stood for dies." Kayla didn't answer. Her eyes were locked on the tactical display. One of the human ships fired again, hitting their lower hull. Sparks flew across the bridge. Rin yelled, "Shields down to 60%. Kayla clenched her jaw. "Enough." She raised her hand over the control panel. Blue energy gathered at her fingertips. Ethan stepped forward, grabbing her wrist. "Kayla, stop." For a moment, time froze. He looked straight into her glowing eyes. "Don't let my people make you a monster." Kayla's breath trembled. Slowly, she lowered her hand. "Then you tell me, Ethan Vale, how do we defend ourselves without hate?" "By showing them mercy," he said softly. "Just like I showed you." The words hit her like a pulse of light. The memory of that night, his hand offering food, his calm voice in the storm, flashed in her mind. She nodded slowly. "Then mercy it is." She turned to Rin. "Target their engines only. Disable, not destroy." The Aurelia fired a series of blinding pulses, non-lethal energy bursts that knocked out the power of the human ships one by one. The explosions were silent, glowing softly like fading stars. When the final human ship drifted powerless, Kayla turned off the weapons. "Contact their commander," she said. Rin opened the channel again. Kayla's voice echoed calmly. "Your ships are safe. We could have ended you, but we chose peace. Remember that." Commander Voss's voice came back, shaky but proud. "You will regret sparing us, alien." Kayla smiled faintly. "No, you will regret not learning." The connection cut off. The battlefield went quiet. Ethan stood beside her, breathing hard. "You just made enemies." "But also hope," Kayla looked at him. "If kindness is rebellion, then we will be rebels together." Rin walked over and placed a glowing stone on Ethan's palm. "This is a Draxian life core," she said. "It connects souls that share a promise." Ethan looked at the light inside the stone. It pulsed like a heartbeat. "What does it do?" Rin smiled. "It remembers." Suddenly, the ship shook violently. A warning flashed across the console. "Unknown signal detected. Stealth vessel approaching. Massive energy spike." Kayla turned to the screen and her face hardened. "It's not human," she whispered. "It's something worse," Ethan frowned. "What do you mean?" Kayla's eyes glowed brighter. "The Shadow Fleet. They hunt those who break the Silence Treaty." Ethan looked through the glass window as a dark, massive ship appeared from the void. its surface rippling like liquid darkness. The storm wasn't over. It had just begun. The dark ship loomed in space like a shadow that swallowed light. Its hull shifted and shimmered as if made of liquid night. Even the stars around it dimmed. On the bridge of the Aurelia, alarms flashed red again. Rin's voice trembled. It's the Shadow Fleet, ancient Draxian hunters. They destroy anyone who breaks the old blood laws. Kayla clenched her fists. They must not see us as traitors. Ethan stood near the control panel trying to understand. Why would they come after you? Kayla turned to him, eyes full of fire and sadness. Because of you. Because we made a bond with a human. To them, that is betrayal. Ethan felt a chill crawl up his spine. So they're here. To kill me? Rin shook her head softly. Not just you. Us too. The Aurelia shook as the Shadow Fleet fired a black energy beam. It wasn't light, it was darkness made solid. It sliced through a nearby moon, turning rock into dust. Kayla's voice was steady but cold. Prepare the cloaking field. We'll hide in the storm belt. They dove into a swirling mass of red and gold plasma storms. Lightning danced around the ship. The Aurelia's engine screamed as Rin steered through the chaos. Inside, Ethan could feel the air tense like before a thunderstrike. Kayla placed her palm on a glowing symbol near the command chair. The ship's systems responded like they were alive. If we are caught, they will not just kill us, they will erase our names from history. Ethan frowned. Erase? In Draxian law, Kayla said quietly, to erase means your soul never lived. No memory, no honor, nothing. The silence that followed was heavy. After a few minutes, Rin's voice came through again. They found us. The storm exploded with light as the Shadow Fleet appeared right above them, their ship spreading like wings of darkness. Kayla looked at Ethan. There is one way we might survive. Her tone was serious, almost sacred. What way? He asked. The trial of bonding, Kayla said. If we bond you to our bloodline, your life will be part of Draxia's. Then the shadows cannot harm us without defying the old laws. Ethan blinked. Bond me, what does that mean exactly? Rin stepped closer, holding a small crystal sphere glowing with faint blue fire. It links heart to heart, soul to soul. You will feel what we feel. Share thought, pain, even death. He stared at the light, unsure. That's not a small promise. Kayla's eyes softened. 15 years ago, you made a promise under rain and fire. You gave life to two strangers. Now we ask you to trust us again. Outside, the ship rocked violently. The Shadow Fleet's weapons tore through the storm. Ethan closed his eyes. His human side screamed no, too much, too alien. But his heart remembered two small girls huddled under a blanket whispering one word. Promise. He opened his eyes. Do it. Kayla and Rin both pressed their palms to the glowing sphere. Blue light spilled out, surrounding all three of them. Ethan gasped. He felt warmth like liquid sunlight flowing through his veins. Memories flashed before his eyes. Kayla as a child crying in the ruins. Rin laughing for the first time. Their long years of training, pain, and war. At the same time, they felt him. His quiet kindness, his long loneliness. His hidden hope that maybe mercy still mattered. The three of them glowed like stars as the bond completed. Then, everything went silent. The Shadow Fleet stopped firing. Their massive ships drifted in the storm as if confused. One of their commanders appeared on the comms, his face hidden by a dark mask. You broke the silence, the voice hissed. Yet the bond is sacred law. The human lives is one of Draxia now. We cannot touch what is sanctified. And just like that, the Shadow Fleet turned away, vanishing back into the void. Rin fell to her knees, exhausted. Kayla exhaled deeply, her armor dimming. It's done, she whispered. Ethan stood there, breathing hard, his chest glowing faintly blue. What happens now? He asked. Kayla looked at him quietly. Now your fate and ours are one. If you die, we die. If we fall, you fall, he smiled weakly. Guess we're really family now. Rin chuckled softly. A strange one, but yes. Kayla turned back toward the stars. But there will be a price. The bond must be proven before the council. They will not accept it easily. Ethan frowned. A trial? She nodded. A trial of truth and sacrifice. Only if we pass will they recognize you as one of us. Outside the ship, lightning flashed across the endless storm clouds. The calm was temporary. He could feel it. Ethan looked at the two sisters, his voice quiet but sure. Then let's prove it together. Kayla smiled faintly. You always were stubborn, human, he grinned. And you always underestimate us. The Aurelia turned toward the distant world of Draxia Prime, glowing faintly on the horizon. The real test was just beginning. The planet Draxia Prime hung before them, massive, glowing red and silver with cloud storms swirling like living fire. For Ethan, it was the first time seeing their homeworld. For Kayla and Rin, it was the first time returning as something different, two warriors who had bonded with a human. As the Aurelia descended through the atmosphere, voices filled the communication channel, stern and ancient. Kayla of House Draxia, Rin of House Draxia, you return with impurity. The bond is forbidden. Prepare for judgment. Kayla didn't flinch. Let them judge truth, not fear. They landed in the Hall of Radiant Law, a grand temple carved from crystal mountains. Hundreds of Draxian soldiers surrounded the landing platform, their wings of light folded behind them. At the center stood the Elder Council, tall silver-scaled beings, their eyes glowing like cold suns. Ethan stepped out beside the sisters. His presence caused murmurs among the crowd. A human bonded by soul, a living defiance of the ancient code. The eldest elder raised his staff. This is a violation of sacred order. Humans bring war and chaos. You invite destruction upon us all. Kayla stood firm. He brought life, not war. He saved us when no one else would. The elder's voice boomed. Then he will prove it or perish with you. A massive gate opened behind the council, leading into a blinding chamber. Rin's hand trembled. The trial of the heart. Kayla turned to Ethan. If we fail, the bond breaks, and all three of us die. Ethan nodded calmly. Then we don't fail. Inside the chamber was endless light. 3 glowing pillars rose from the floor, each with a different symbol. Trust, pain, sacrifice. The elder's voice echoed through the chamber. Only one may choose the path. Choose wrong and the others suffer. Kayla looked at Ethan. We'll take the first. Trust. Ethan stopped her. No, this time I choose. He walked toward the pillar marked sacrifice. Kayla's eyes widened. Ethan, don't. He smiled softly. You both have given your whole lives to fight for peace. Maybe it's time I gave something back. The light from the pillar enveloped him, his mind filled with flashes, every memory he had shared through the bond. The girls in the ruins, their laughter, their promise, their battles, and beneath it all, a voice whispered inside him. To prove love, you must give what cannot be replaced. Ethan gasped, falling to his knees. His body started to glow brighter and brighter. Rin ran to him, clutching his shoulders. Stop, you're giving too much. He smiled weakly. You both deserve peace. Even if I can't see it, Kayla screamed, tears of light falling from her eyes. No, the bond will take us too. But it was too late. The light grew blinding, spreading through the chamber like a sun being born. When the glow faded, Ethan was lying still, unconscious but alive. The energy core inside his chest pulsed softly, keeping him between worlds. Kayla and Rin knelt beside him, trembling. Their armor flickered. Rin whispered, He gave his life force to us. Kayla touched his face gently. No, he shared it. Half his heart beats in us now. The elders stepped forward silent. They had seen the truth in the light. The oldest one lowered his staff. He carries no malice. His sacrifice was real. The bond is proven. The great hall filled with silence. For the first time in centuries, the Draxian law of separation was broken. Kayla stood, holding Ethan's hand. Then let this bond be more than survival. Let it be peace. The elders nodded slowly. Then peace it shall be. But outside, a new alarm screamed. Rin turned sharply. Human warships! The Earth Defense Fleet has entered orbit. They think we're enemies. Kayla's face hardened. They'll destroy everything. They don't know the war is over. Ethan stirred, eyes barely opening. His voice was weak but clear. Kayla, the shields. You have to stop them. Don't let them fire. Kayla looked down at him, pain in her eyes. Rest, we'll finish what you started. She turned toward the sky, wings unfolding. Rin, protect him. Kayla flew out of the chamber, her body glowing like a star. The human fleet's missiles streaked through the clouds, lighting the heavens like fire. She raised her arms, channeling the energy of the bond, the shared life force Ethan had given. A wave of light erupted, disarming every weapon, freezing the warships in midair. Her voice thundered across the comms. No more blood. No more hate. This bond is our proof that peace is stronger than war. The light spread across the planet and the sky. Human soldiers saw the message. The warships powered down one by one. Rin held Ethan close as the world turned quiet again. His heartbeat was faint but steady. Kyla landed softly beside them, her eyes shining with tears. It's done, she whispered. Ethan managed a weak smile. Told you. We don't fail. The sisters laughed through tears, their hands on his heart. For the first time, both races stood still. Not as enemies, but as witnesses to something greater. 15 years had passed since the Battle of Draxia Prime, the day that changed two worlds forever. The once war-torn planet was now alive with peace. Silver cities floated among soft clouds, and human embassies stood beside Draxian temples. Children of both races played together under glowing trees, their laughter echoing across the crystal valleys. At the center of the capital stood a tall monument, a bronze figure of a man feeding two small alien girls, his hand outstretched in kindness. Below the statue were the engraved words, "To the one who fed the lost, and fed hope to the stars." People came from far away to lay flowers there. Some whispered prayers, others simply stood in silence. But to everyone, Ethan Vale was not just a man. He was the bridge that healed galaxies. That night, a quiet wind passed through the memorial garden. Two figures walked in slowly, both tall, graceful, their eyes glowing with soft blue light. Kayla and Rin. Time had barely touched them. Their crystal armor shimmered faintly under the moonlight, but their faces carried the gentle sadness of years gone by. Rin placed her hand on the statue's base, tracing the engraved words. He would have hated this, she said softly. He never wanted to be worshipped, Kayla smiled faintly. He only wanted peace. And somehow, he gave it. They stood there in silence for a long moment. The air shimmered faintly around them, the faint echo of a soul they still felt. Kayla looked up at the stars. I still hear him sometimes, she whispered. In the hum of the ship, in the quiet after the rain, Rin nodded. The bond never broke. Kayla closed her eyes. No, it just sleeps. A soft beeping interrupted their thoughts. Rin turned toward the sky. From above, a small scout ship was landing, unmarked, old and dusty like something from another age. As the ramp lowered, both sisters froze. A man stepped down slowly, wearing a simple jacket, his hair touched with silver, his eyes gentle but bright. He smiled when he saw them. Took you long enough to miss me. Kayla's breath caught. Ethan? He nodded slightly. Last time I checked. For a second, neither of them moved. Then Rin ran forward and threw her arms around him, tears streaming down her cheeks. Kayla followed, her armor clinking softly as she embraced them both. They held each other under the twin moons, the air glowing faintly blue where their bond reignited. Kayla pulled back, her voice shaking. But how? You were fading. The energy, it was gone. Ethan smiled gently. Guess your people don't know everything about humans yet. Rin laughed through tears. Still stubborn, still foolish. Still hungry, he added, grinning. Got anything to eat? The sisters laughed, pure, honest laughter that echoed through the valley. Later that night, the three sat by a small fire near the edge of the city. Ethan looked at the stars, watching human and Draxian ships move together in the same sky. You did it, he said quietly. You built peace. Kayla shook her head. We built it. Your choice began it. Rin poked the fire with a stick, smiling. 15 years. It feels like a dream. I still remember the ruins, the rain. The food you shared. Ethan's eyes softened. You two were just kids. I never thought that one small act would mean anything. Kayla looked at him, her gaze steady. It meant everything. For a while, none of them spoke. The silence between them wasn't empty. It was warm, full of memories and unspoken gratitude. Ethan finally said, You know, I used to think survival was about strength, but now I think it's about kindness. Rin tilted her head. Kindness, he nodded. Yeah, strength breaks things. Kindness fixes them. Kayla smiled faintly. That's what you taught us 15 years ago. He looked at her and smiled. And you reminded me that mercy isn't weakness, it's power. Rin wiped a tear from her cheek. Then maybe mercy saved the galaxy. Ethan chuckled softly. Maybe it did. As dawn broke, golden light spilled across the horizon. The three of them stood at the edge of the cliff, watching the sunrise together, the same way they once watched the firestorms on Rhea 9 so long ago. Kayla reached out and took his hand. Rin did the same. Their bond shimmered faintly between them, a line of light connecting three hearts. Ethan turned to them, his voice gentle. No matter what comes next, promise me one thing. Kayla smiled. Anything. Keep feeding the lost, he said. Someone out there will always need it. Rin's voice trembled. We promise. As the sun rose higher, their silhouettes stood together, human and alien, bound by light, memory, and the simple power of compassion. And across two worlds, their story was told not as war or legend, but as a reminder that sometimes one meal, one act of mercy, one kept promise can change the fate of stars. Moral message: kindness is not weakness. It is the bridge between fear and peace, the light that survives even after war fades.